Time now for the international papers. Then, of course, Gilad Shalit set to be released. Awful lot in the papers about it, I can imagine, Elena.
Time magazine has a pretty good analysis of this, actually, who wins, who loses from this swap deal. So let's have a look at that. Now, they say it's one of those rare things, a win-win situation in politics. They say Benjamin Netanyahu wins for this because it looks like he's graciously accepted a painful deal in order to end the ordeal of Gilad Shalit. And of course, when he does return home, that will mean national rejoicing in Israel. So that's bound to make him look good. But Hamas have also done pretty well out of this because they've got 1,000 prisoners freed who are, of course, not just Hamas members. They're from all different Palestinian factions. But they can quite easily spin this as saying it's their intransigence that has got those prisoners out of jail. So it gives them a good bargaining chip when they're in talks with their rivals Fatah. And Egypt wins from this as well. The new Egyptian government, the army there, has shown that they can be just as good a talking partner in Israel-Palestinian negotiations as Mubarak ever was. The only person who really loses, Time says, is Mahmoud Abbas, whose Palestinian Authority has had no say in these negotiations because he has no control at all over what goes on in Gaza, of course, which is run by Hamas, who are holding Gilad Shalit.
Everyone's pleased. Come on, I mean, we're journalists. We can't have everyone being pleased. It can't be that straightforward. What about the right-wing Israeli press?
No, well, the Jerusalem Post definitely doesn't share Time's opinion that this is a win-win situation. They accuse Netanyahu of capitulating to Hamas. Of course, they're pleased that Shalit's coming home, but they say this might be too big a price to pay. They say that Hamas will gain not only in morale, but also in operational capacity if they get these 1,000, the Jerusalem Post would, of course, call them terrorists, back in Gaza. And they also say Hamas will learn from this that kidnapping pays, because they've got those 1,000 prisoners out, then it will only encourage them to do it again, the Jerusalem Post thinks. So they're not particularly pleased with this swap deal. Why has it happened? They say it's because of the Arab Spring. They say that Netanyahu is worried that the current Egyptian government will be replaced by one that's much more pro-Hamas, so he won't have any kind of negotiating partner to broker these kind of deals in a few months' time. So he's decided to do it now, really, before it was too late.
OK, let's have a look at one other of the main stories today. The Iran story, this plot, apparently, to kill the Saudi ambassador to the US. What are the press making of that?
Well, The Guardian's diplomatic editor, Julian Borgia, has an interesting analysis. He says if the Saudi Arabian ambassador had actually been killed, this could easily have sparked an all-out war in the Middle East, saying that tension between Iran and Saudi Arabia is so high anyway. WikiLeaks cables released last year showed that Saudi Arabia has been putting loads of pressure on the US recently to crack down further on Iran. So this could easily have sparked conflict. But is that really in Iran's interest? Borgia says, well, no, it's difficult to believe that the Iranian regime would actually have ordered an assassination like this. The US says it's the Al-Quds Brigade, that elite military unit that's responsible, but they're directly under the control of Ayatollah Khamenei, who's a very cautious kind of man, not the kind of person who would spark a war with Iran this easily, he says. So also, of course, the Al-Quds Brigade is so efficient, The Guardian says, that if they were trying to kill you or me, we'd be dead. They wouldn't be employing random Mexican drug traffickers as intermediaries, which the US alleges happened here. So what is going on? The Guardian alleges that it could be to do with internal power struggles in Iran. This might be a group opposed to Ayatollah Khamenei who ordered this, maybe backing President Ahmadinejad, who might see that he would be able to seize advantage from the chaos that would be sparked by that kind of assassination.
Yulia Tymoshenko in Ukraine, Daily Beast article.
Yep, they say Viktor Yanukovych has shot himself in the foot by imprisoning her for 7 years because this has alienated a big swathe of Ukrainian opinion, including people who didn't back Tymoshenko anyway, and it's upset the EU, so it's going to push him further towards Russia, end trade deals that he desperately wanted to be negotiated with the EU, so he's shot himself in the foot.
And just time to mention the big baby. This is an article by The Guardian's Paris correspondent to do with the Sarkozy offspring.
Yes, of course, that's expected any day soon, and Carla Bruni has insisted she won't expose it to media attention, but The Guardian's Paris correspondent, who's a seasoned Sarkozy watcher, says she doesn't believe that for a second. She says they can clearly see the electoral advantage in this, the presidential couple, and we're bound to get lots of secretly leaked or accidentally leaked photos of Daddy Sarko and the baby. And he has form on this, of course. He's used his family in the past, with taking those photo opportunities, getting them into the press in an attempt to sell his family image to the voting public.
We shall see, we shall see. Only a few days to go. Elena, thanks very much. That's Elena there with the international papers today.